Great reading.
It's 6 o'clock, so I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on the city's YouTube channel. We'll have roll call, please, and stating your name, Marion.
Marion Wainwright.
Nicole.
Derek Monsignor.
Go Clones. Sean Ryan.
Moving on to item number 4, unless there, is there someone on that maybe didn't mute, or is there a feedback?
The people on the phone, please mute yourself until you have a topic that you want to give input on. Thank you.
Thanks. Number 4, approval of the consent agenda. Unless there are questions, I'll take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You have several reports in your packets. Do you have any questions for anyone whose report is in your packet? Chris would like to comment on something.
Yeah, I got a couple updates for you guys.
Okay.
I did get an email from Jennifer Pratt today about the annexation agreement. Her team looked through it, they thought it looked good, they've sent it off to the other departments and their legal team. So it sounds like we're finally making some progress there.
Good job.
And then, I need some counsel, I don't know what we wanna do with 115 Railroad Street, we're having a lot of issues over there, we sent several notices. We're not getting anywhere, go ahead.
Pick me. Is that pick me? Is that the one that has the fire in the front yard all the time and all the
I don't
junk?
know if that's far, yeah, yes.
And they look
That
appears
camper
to be
showed up.
living in their camper because there's a drop corner
Here's
next
the
to it.
key, you know. I had the sheriff over there to get the camper moved off the railroad property to put it back in their driveway, but. We've sent them notice after notice after notice, that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. What I wanna know is, do you guys wanna send that on to the legal attorney?
Yes. How about the police? Have they called the sheriff?
I have, he got him to move the camper into their driveway, but. It's cleaning up that whole
Once it
place,
gets in,
yeah, it's getting out of hand, it's getting worse and worse. He does mow, he moves stuff and mows, so there's not weeds, but. We're getting a lot of calls about
I
it.
was concerned about the fire. I know it's a recreational fire technically, I guess, but like I would go to work in the morning at like early and it would still be burning and that was a
Pretty confident he burned wire, the copper, you know, coating off the wire,
plastic on.
but to prove it is another matter.
I just don't like the fact that it's never, that it was burned.
Unsupervised.
Unsupervised, yes.
Well, I believe, Chris, isn't it true that our ordinance state you can't burn from dusk to dawn, correct?
Possibly, but there's a lot of issues there. It's
What
not
kind of
just the
burning?
fire.
Because I mean, there's a million people that, campfires or, not burn, it's fire pits in their backyard, they're burning after dark if they're sitting
Sure.
around there, so I guess. I don't, that's a more difficult one, because you can turn around and say, well, you're not. I have a fire pit in my backyard, bless my balls, and it's gonna burn.
I mean, it's not, our ordinance doesn't say it has to be in the backyard either, I don't believe.
No, I don't
Say
think
where it has to
states
be
where it has to
located.
be. I think it does stay 10 feet from the house, which is, well, probably is. He's also got a wood burner in the garage that I've been told is where the wire gets burned. So fire department members are quite aware of it. Again,
But we don't have an anti-wire burning policy.
you can't burn stuff that creates
Toxic.
fumes, but again, the hard part's the proof.
So
Easy.
if you would do this, then what exactly what would you call out specifically?
The cleanup, the burning, yeah,
Well, the attorney would give
the
it.
attorney, yeah, the attorney. sure.
Well, the attorney.
But I'm, again, I want you guys to,
So the question was, how much money do you want to spend on this?
I don't really think burning plastic, we should just ignore that. Or whatever coating they're burning off the copper. Now, I know that's separate from the junk accumulation, but. I don't think, well, it's gonna be annoying, should be a reason to report it. Or let it continue, even though we're sending notices.
So that's why Chris is asking you. what-
How many notices have been sent and like? off the top of your
Since
head?
I've been here, probably at least 2 a summer. As far as,
How long has this person lived there? Cause I've just noticed it get out of control like this summer.
right, this summer it's gotten a lot worse. Exactly.
Is there something going on that we don't know about? Maybe some medical thing?
That's it.
Can you speak to,
The sheriff's deputy.
please step up to the mic if you,
You're talking about Railroad Street?
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
so I got to move the camper, that was me that went out there, there's just. I don't know who owns the property, I know Booker Melver lives out there, yeah. I don't know who owns that place, I just know that there's less than ideal people that frequent it. So I always try to keep an eye on that place. But. I don't know who the homeowner is at the tenant there, I know Booker Melver probably is the guy in the garage burning stuff, as he lives in the garage. I arrested him out of that garage one time, so it stays in there. I don't, there's a couple other people that pop in and out, but I'm not sure who they are.
If you heard anything about the truck that's sitting below the no parking sign, it's been there for weeks.
I don't know where to, I'd have to go look at it. When I went out there, they had a camper and then her, I think she had like a Toyota parked behind it, and she told me, hey, I'm homeless, I'll get it moved, I have to go get my parents' vehicle, put it in. She was planning on going to a campground to stay, and when I drove by later that night, the camper was gone. Well, it was in the
Driveway, right.
so I'm not sure what truck you're talking about.
It's
Is it-
sitting there, it's hooked up to a trailer full of mattresses and other sling, it's been there
Where,
for
where
weeks.
the camper was too?
Right next to where there. It's been there for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah, that'd be another, you can call, look at us out there,
Yeah,
you talk to whoever. Whoever owns the truck. I don't know what the private property Joe for Union Pacific would look like, I just go up there and said, hey, we're gonna. Go with the private property truck, and doesn't get noted, obviously, then them to sign off on it. So I don't know who we would go to for signing the private property Joe.
She was on vacation last week, the Union Pacific contacted I have,
Gotcha.
that's why.
Yeah.
We went to the sheriff.
So I kind of just blocked her, but. I don't know who would sign it for them.
we don't let that happen anywhere in town, but that's just out
Yeah.
of control. I feel it's out of control.
David Metzner is the name of the guy notices go to. It's what the county has done, it's property.
So is it a rental property?
I don't think so, I think that's it, so it's
It's
the older guy.
It's a slumlord residence essentially, kind of like what you had on,
Girls.
Whatever it is, it's off.
yeah, just like you had on, by the cemetery where it's got like.
So Chris, did you get the guidance that you need from the council or?
I got one person that's.
I agree, we move forward.
Move forward with
Yeah.
it, send it off to the attorney?
Yeah.
All right, thank
Do you want us to take a actual, do something so it's on the record that we all agreed to this?
I
In
think
case it does,
probably should.
in case it does go legally, but do we need to do something, Cynthia, or?
You don't need to, because Chris all the time, after he sends certain notices, then he sends it to the attorney. He's done that many times without council direction.
Deputy, you want to continue with your report as long as you're standing there?
Sure. It's like we got. August 13th through September 10th. 65 calls for service hours were met. Haven't looked down here in a while, so I'm not sure what all's been going on, but I didn't handle that call. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Last couple of council meetings, we've had discussions with residents live up in Harlan Heights on UTVs, a lot of kids. driving around on private property, plus the streets, apparently some almost getting hit. He talked to the residents that were here at that time, says, please call the sheriff, don't take it under your own. Wondering if you see, when I looked through this, I didn't see any of the activity reports specific or what that code is.
That call gets put out quite often, specifically on the weekends, I know.
And when you say
It's
put out,
probably the juvenile trouble, I'm assuming, Harlan Street. Juvenile trouble is how it's coded.
okay,
I've never caught any of them in the act. I get sent over there often. I talked to a gentleman, I don't know his name off the top of my head, that I believe, is the house that it's coming from. He's got quads and dirt bike. Told me he was basically, the kids were riding over on city property, and I told him, hey, that's a no-go. You need to get permission from the city, and I'm assuming he did, because I thought I heard, or at least talked to somebody from the city. I think he did reach out to somebody, and I don't know what he's still, I'm assuming probably no. That was the only, I didn't catch him in the act, I just stopped and had a conversation with him. Right. I know it gets sent out quite often, but I personally haven't caught any.
as long as my reason for asking is that residents are utilizing the service.
Yeah.
Don't expect you to catch them, at least right, your presence is out there and stopping at a house or two that you see is a deterrent at this point. You see, hopefully don't use it for so
I
that's
think it's,
that.
I think it's just two houses that were there, kids that are doing that. I don't know that, I don't know their names. I know there's mom,
On the street,
there's mom on like a corner house down there at the end, but I think her kids sometimes rides around and then this guy with a bunch of toys.
And I did contact Major Colson after our last meeting and asked, for some focus patrol up in that area for ATVs and UTVs, and also, I think it was on Driftwood here too. So,
I know he did send that out.
Yeah.
Yes.
thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I do have just one quick update on my report, because I just, found out with the last couple of days, we've had discussions about trying to, get some people at a higher level involved with our Union Pacific crossing at Vanderbilt Street. Reached out to all of our federal representatives, only heard back from Henson's office, but because it's a state grant that we're going after, they won't offer any support to us. Other two we hadn't heard from, however, just heard from state Senator Charlie McClintock, and he is going to give us a letter of support to go along with our application for funding. So, just a quick update on that. All right, any questions on any of the other reports before we move on? If not, we'll move on to number 6. We have with us this evening Carter Baldwin, Lynn County Lex. Archer? Check the mic before you start on. See if it's actually.
Check it. Does it sound good?
Not too bad. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Carter Baldwin. I'm the director for Lynn County Lifts, and I wanted to come tonight to just bring some awareness that you have a public transit service that is available to Fairfax through Lynn County Lifts, and just wanted to explain that a little bit and provide some information about our service. So Lynn County Lifts is a part of Lynn County. It's a department of Lynn County, and we provide transit service both inside the metro area of Cedar Rapids and then outside of the metro area throughout all of Lynn County, specifically Fairfax. So we provide ADA paratransit service within Cedar Rapids, and then anybody could ride the bus outside of the Cedar Rapids area. Primarily, we serve people with disabilities and seniors, but we also are open to the general public. We operate from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. It costs $2 a ride for us, and the Person that is running a ride can call into our dispatch office and schedule a ride 24 hours in advance. We are funded by the ECOG group and also the city of Cedar Rapids and the county as well. And we are a part of the Iowa Transit DOT agglomeration within the state of Iowa. So every county has a transit system available, and Wood County Lifts is just one part of that transit system. So just wanted to bring it to your awareness that Wood County Lifts is available. And that, we have right now about 13 residents that ride with us, and we'd love to increase that. So we're very back to provide that service to anybody that is. Are you able to take questions, or do you have any questions?
Does anyone have questions for Carter? No, we have okay,
So I just had, so there is a number that they can call to just, because it said like everything's online, and I know a lot of older people have issues doing things online, so they can call and do it.
They can, yes, they can call 892-5170. And that gets them connected to our dispatch office, which schedules rides. Much of our things are online on the website, but it's not required that they schedule a ride.
I assume that's within the facts.
Did you put something in the last fax? I forget. Or is it going in the next?
it
one?
was in the September fact.
Yeah.
So
And then we also have brochures, which generated a success story. Our library director, Kathy Bay, might want to share that with you, Carter.
Yeah.
And a woman who wanted a ride, and I asked me if I could give her a ride, and I was busy, but I told her about you, and she used you, and she was very pleased, and impressed how clean the buses were, and
Good.
it was a very good experience. And how conscientious your driver was, because she only needed a ride one way, they wanted to make sure she didn't get that.
Good.
But she told me to do a weekend test, this is 24 hours in test.
It is so far. Yeah. Great, it's good to hear.
Any other questions? Thank you, Carter.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Move on to item number 7, discussion of possible motion to approve the city administrator recruitment profile. That is in your packet. And Marquita from Hinton Consulting Services is on the phone, correct, Cynthia?
I believe so. Marquita, are you there?
I'm here, yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. I'm here and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the profile. You will note there's one little space to be filled in, and that's just the website where on the city's website that will host the profile, and then the profile will also go out to the International City County Management Association and to the Iowa League of Cities.
Part of our process as far as an administrator after that is hiring a city clerk. I might have missed it, but is that in here as far as letting applicants know of hiring a city clerk? Or
No.
No.
because you should be-
I'm sorry.
Retired.
wow, nice, it's done.
Oh, that's
All of a
nice.
sudden, you changed it too. Nice.
Right, yeah. So that's the reason for not putting it in there as far as.
Marquita, this is Mayor Beer. Could you just very briefly tell the council again where this is gonna go and what the next step will be?
Sure, yes, absolutely. This will be advertised through the International City County Management Association. That means it will list in their job center, and it will also go out through their digital newsletter that goes out to members on a regular basis. And then it will also be on the classifieds for the Iowa League of Cities. So probably sometime Thursday, because I'll submit it, once you approve it, I will submit it to the league tomorrow. And they're usually pretty good about turning it around very quickly. And so if you go to the league website, you'll see it on their marketplace at the league as well. And then we use this profile to make personal contact with prospective candidates as well.
And how long will it stay on those sites, Marquita?
The sites, and I can send you the sites once they're up, but it's the International City County Management Association and the Iowa League of Cities. It will go in their job centers for both of those organizations.
For how long? To the application deadline, or will it stay out there longer?
It will, usually they come down on the application deadline. So they'll be up until October 23rd.
Council, have any questions or comments on the profile itself? Everybody good? If so, entertain a motion to approve the recruitment profile.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Marquita.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on to item number 8, discussion review of Spirit Financial's annual TIP reports.
Good
And
evening,
Maggie is
everyone.
with us.
I'm Maggie Berger with Spear Financial in your package this evening. You have our TIF and annual debt report. So I've worked with Cynthia over the last couple of weeks to get this ready for you, and I'll just briefly go through it. You guys have been through this before. Our red pages outline all of the general obligation debt that the city has outstanding. I draw your attention to the newest general obligation debt that you have outstanding on page 3 from 2024. This year it was issued and closed on July 24th of 2024, we issued $660,000 of general obligation bonds. And the call feature, if you look at 2030, that is when those bonds would become callable at that time. That call option, remember, is at your option only. It means that at that time, if interest rates are lower, you could refinance. If interest rates are higher or the same, you just continue to pay, but you also could pay ahead at that time in full or in part. We utilize different sources on their page 3 and page 4 to pay back. So we've done a better job of identifying what bond issue goes along with what source of revenue that you're using. Ultimately, on the last page of the red section, you are not levying any property taxes for any of your general obligation debt at this time. General obligation debt can levy property taxes, but at this point in time, you've found all these sources between TIF, road use, general fund, local option, sales tax, sewer, water, etc., to pay those debts back. Those adjustments can always be made at budget time. If there's a source of revenue that you maybe need to move to another project, or there's a source of revenue that seems to be performing better, that you want to use a little bit more towards one of those issuances. Our orange page is where we outline any revenue debt that the city has. We have a sewer revenue debt from 2008. We also have a water revenue debt just newly from 2020. And then we have the planning and design water revenue loan that was issued back in 2023. To date, you've drawn $231,171. As this water project moves forward and gets into construction, that the balance outstanding on that planning and design loan, which is accruing 0% interest right now, that will roll into the construction loan. So it's a cost of the project, right? Planning and design engineering costs are a cost of the project, but right now it's a 0% interest rate. And that helps you out, so you don't have to carry that in your water account, as an expense.
Also, there's no payments due while it's the planning and
Correct.
design.
Correct. It will expire in 3 years, but in that point in time, the construction loan should be underway. If the construction loan is still let's say 6 months out from being done, they will just grant you an extension on that until that loan, till that construction is ready to go. Biggest takeaway here, no property taxes. These are revenue debts. They do not count against your debt capacity, but they also means that they cannot be paid with property tax sources. So we're paying these with the revenues of the system, water and sewer. City does then TIF abate, so the yellow column on our red pages, it coincides with this column right here, or these sets of pages. This is where we identify, as we start a bond issue, how much of that bond issue could be payable from TIF revenue. So some of these will be the 100% of what the bond was issued at. Some of these are only partially paid. Some of those bond issues are only partially paid with TIF, and that's where we re-represent this. On page 3, we do have about $514,000 of that $660,000 being paid with TIF. And so we've got that breakdown schedule for you, or I'm sorry, I said about 514, and that's an error up in our top. It should be 316,000 that's being paid with TIF revenues. The far right column, that indicates to Cynthia and to the city how much needs to be levied in TIF dollars for fiscal year 26. You'll recall those are documents that you'll be passing, whether it's this month, next month, or the following month. Those are due to the county by December 1st of every year. And again, you're in fiscal year 25, so you're asking for your fiscal year 26 receipts. We go on to our green pages. We're gonna look at column number 2. This is your debt capacity. The city's actual valuation as of 1/1/23 or for fiscal year 25 is $424,991,000. I do want to point out that's a significant increase over column number 1. It's about 24.5% increased. If you'll recall, about 15 months ago, we all got those letters from the county stating that our valuation on our homes, our businesses went up pretty significantly across the state between 20 and 35%. So you fall right in that 24% with that actual, again, actual valuation is before any rollbacks are applied, any taxable rollbacks. This gives you debt capacity of 21,249,000. Again, a pretty significant bump over what it was just a year ago because of that increase in valuation. You have $8,230,000 of GO principal outstanding. You also have annual appropriation debt, so we have to count that annual amount against your debt capacity from those 2020 B bonds. You will pay back $1.2 million, and you issued in this fiscal year $660,000. At the bottom, that leaves you remaining debt capacity of about $13,204,000. If we take off the 20%, meaning that you never should issue more than about 80% of your debt capacity, you still have a debt capacity of about $8.9 million, significantly again higher than last year. Part of our conversation was you only issued at $660,000 of GO debt this year, and you paid off $1.2 million. So you will start to gain if you know you're issuing at anything less than what you're paying off on an annual basis. You'll start to gain some debt capacity there. We don't anticipate the growth in valuation to be significant, and we know there's parts of Fairfax that are growing. So we do have about a 2.5% growth rate in there, but we don't anticipate your existing properties to naturally appreciate, at least for a couple of 3 years, due to the large increase that was taken on in 1/1/23. And then the very last part is our blue pages. These are our actual TIF pages. Again, looking at column number 2, this represents any increment. So this means from the start of your TIF district, this is all the growth that has occurred. So we've got about $25 million in commercial growth. We've got about $185 million in residential growth. Now that's a pretty significant number over last year, again, partially due to that, but you notice that once we roll it back, it's not as large of an increase because we went from a 54% rollback to a 46% rollback. So that 9% cut in taxable value for you really offset that growth. This does generate about $2.7 million at the TIF tax rate, and you're using about $1.36 million to service your debt. Anything, those unclaimed TIF dollars really just means you're just not utilizing all of the TIF dollars that you could be. I'm not telling you to go utilize those dollars, because what happens is those dollars that are not being utilized, they will roll back in to be utilized by the city, the county, and the school district's budget. You also have to have obligations to claim those TIF dollars. And, you know, we put obligations out there in a strategic plan based on, you know, your capital improvement planning and your needs. And so we can't just go out and ask for more TIF dollars if we don't have the obligations out there to ask for them. What questions do you have for me? Financially, everything's looking great here at the city. We feel like, again, although, you know, the taxable rollback took a cut, especially for residential, it was a nice bump in debt capacity across the state for some of our smaller cities who have issued a fair amount of debt, like the city of Fairfax, to help make economic development and growth happen in your community.
I can tell you, we've had a conference call with Maggie, and she is working on some projections and possibilities for the industrial area and infrastructure improvements that will be needed and how we can put TIF to work. So she's working on that. So you'll get more information about that probably next meeting.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Maggie. Move on to item number 9, discussion and possible motion concerning the Fairfax American Legion's request for an easement. Is anyone here to talk about that? Don't see anyone, so we'll move on. To,
Hang on one second.
Yeah, I mean, just because nobody's here to talk about it doesn't mean they should come to a decision, right?
would you like to talk about it?
Yes, I do. So
Okay.
basically, to make sure that I'm understanding correctly, they want a permanent easement granted. So they have access from the street around the library to their back parking lot for the sum of $1, right? They were doing $1. So do you know, I thought the bank bought the lot on the corner.
It did.
So I guess I'm not inclined to do a permanent easement. At this point, we allow them access. So do you know why they're asking for a permanent easement at this time? Did anyone tell you that?
They came in and talked to me. They never asked or told me why they were asking.
You know,
for it.
why they feel
Joe,
it's
you know why they're
necessary at
asking
this
for it?
time?
I don't, the bank does not know what they're gonna do with that corner lot yet. So it could be parking, it could be a park, it could be retail with apartments upstairs. They don't know what they're gonna do with it yet. So I think they're just looking for, as I understand it, they're looking for some sort of guarantee that they're gonna have access to that back parking lot. And they're asking for that easement for that.
The only thing I can think that could have triggered it, might have triggered it, would be the expansion of the library. You know, that's been talked about quite a bit.
The Legion member came in and we said, look through the abstract. He wanted to know if they'd ever gotten an official easement with the previous property owners, and we didn't find anything. And so I think the conversation just went from there, but you'll see staff is not recommending granting a.
Well, I was just wondering too, if they couldn't get the same deal easement from the bank along the east edge of the building to get access to that back lot, you know.
Maybe once it's developed, they may.
Do you know, Kathy, on the designs that what you're thinking of, like for your development, would you just you're just gonna push the building out? So you would have to have some kind of parking there anyway with enough room to back out, correct? So that would give enough room to give them access to the rear, just the whatever, even if it's one way. It would give them enough room to get to the back. I mean, we'll have to do that for that addition. I'm assuming they put at least one row of parking up along the building there, and you'd have to have at least enough room for them to back out. So again, that would, do you know what I'm saying?
I think, so as far as the library, I think the fear of the Legion probably is that theoretically, the library expansion could come all the way up to the building and you wouldn't be able to access that back part. The current plan, which hopefully is presented next month, at least that's what the board is planning for the library, would still have that be open. There has to be a conversation between the board, the bank and the Legion on that corner of what's gonna happen, because if the bank does develop that corner, that really is gonna impact some plans for the library expansion of where do people park, because right now where that parking lot is where they were hoping the building would go. But there wouldn't be, in an ideal world, there wouldn't be a plan to say, okay, we're gonna butt the library up against the Legion and Legion won't have access to that back portion.
How far back does that lot go? To the west,
Well,
Which lot?
what's right
Well, I mean,
behind the building,
where's the property line there?
yeah, what's right behind the Legion is the Legions, and then
There's a
like, I don't know, 10 foot from the back door to the east. The rest of that becomes city property.
We got a survey document in there.
Right, it didn't, when I looked at it, it didn't really make,
GIS, sorry.
it didn't really make much
Yeah.
sense to me.
I don't have that on this.
The paperwork, this one.
Aaron, you know what-
This thing didn't really make
Got one
much.
more.
If you're familiar with Legion, on Main Street, there's that big brick. Right in the front door, there's that big brick kind of. Whatever it is, that's the property line that goes all straight back.
Okay, so. does
So
it go
everything
as
to the
far east?
west is the Legion. And it's like 10 foot, I think, from the building.
Do we still need this?
Yeah, let's do it, just so we can, I just wanna make sure. Because at this point, I would not be in favor of doing that, because we don't know what the library expansion looks like, but no, everyone's saying that, my goal would be to try to work with them so they still have access, but.
Well, I think that's our intent. We
Right.
just don't want to guarantee that this 18 feet will be there, but
Right.
Right,
Yeah, the library can label it as parking and still allow the Legion to drive through it.
drive through.
But once they do the legal access, we can't count it as parking spaces.
Can you make that a little bit bigger yet?
they don't have.
Oh. You want me to show you
And
that
then scroll,
GIS?
scroll down.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, it's hard because the.
will show you property.
This has the property lines on there. There's the library. There's the Legion. There's the parking lot we're talking about.
So they wanna take something right in here.
Yeah, 18 feet along that whole southern property line.
But if we do parking, we have to do parking with the drive lane, so that's enough that they get back out, which would be enough for them to get back.
Well, as soon as you label those illegal ingress, egress, you can't put your parking across it. But as long as it's not labeled, it's all on the other end, you could go, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So nobody's proposing cutting them off, going through there.
Okay. Anybody else have any? Questions about that?
So do you want to make a motion to deny the request for an easement?
I would say at this point, either deny it or not, don't take any action.
No
on it.
action.
I would say is that, yeah,
I would say if anything, I mean, as we get further along the library. Development. To probably chat with the Legion. And the library and Fairfax State Bank, I mean, it's. To see on what each individual's kind of. Vision is for that, 'cause it's kind of a mess in that corner. Legion uses that parking lot for, obviously well, the street dance. Majority of their parking on. Rentals, Legion meetings, things like that, so I think that's probably, if I'm just speculating your concern, but. It also depends on what Fairfax Bank has mentioned, they wanna do with that corner. Because,
So I agree that would be ideal if the three affected
yeah,
parties.
I don't agree in giving them these either, but I would deny that, just take no action. And
Okay.
wait till there's actually something a little more concrete, and get
I
the
agree.
three of them to sit together and. Chat about it.
Okay. So, before we move on. Since we have a guest sitting under item number 22. This might be a good time to move item number 22 up prior to item number 10. And Joe, you wanna discuss that?
I think they should be punished and sit through a whole week.
So, you've got the hiring committee recommendation in your packet, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have not read through it, but I'm really here to introduce you to our recommendation, Chase Harrison, and, after you have any questions for me, I'm sure if you have some questions for Chase, he'd be happy to answer those as well. Okay, looks like I have no questions, Chase.
Any questions for Chase?
Says here you're a University of Iowa graduate.
Don't fall for this.
What? Oh, I have no follow-up to that.
If the council doesn't have any questions, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion. Hiring.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
And I assume that that was at the 20 and his start date is 9/23.
That's correct.
And I know it seems strange, but then you have to do a resolution also anytime you set employee compensation.
Right. Welcome, Chase. So we'll do number 23 as well. Consider adoption of resolution to approve the compensation.
Motion. Second.
Roll call, please. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, then we'll back up and go to item number 10, discussion of water treatment plant and well number 5. Shane's got this one.
Take it out.
So, joining us on the phone is Lenny Larson with ISG. Consulting, so he can jump in and answer any questions. If you recall, it was last October, we submitted a preliminary engineering report. And, finally got some comments back from the DOT on that. The ISG has responded to those comments, and that's the memo that, was put on the council agenda. I think there's 7 or 8 comments, last 2 or 3 or 4 are pretty straightforward. Are there any questions, comments regarding?
Did you mean DNR, not DOT?
And then.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, DNR, correct, thank you.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding the graph correctly. We can't meet current peak demands. Is that what I'm understanding? By. It's probably what, 100,000 gallons? Roughly. I mean, I know it's approximation, it's the best guess. Right?
Sure. And some of those are high usage days and water laws and whatnot in the summer.
Yeah, we hit 900 and some thousand once 24-hour period within the last year, so.
So
This was just kind of a revisit of what we talked about a year or so ago when we started getting the process moving. Kevin made this up and I updated the information to it to make it current other than the estimates of the gallons per minute. that was an estimate at that time, what the current ones are, it's tough to tell because we're not expanding as fast as we were. But it's not gonna be, it's negligible, you know, we have expanded, but not to the extent we were back in 1921. But regardless of taking your 12 hours recovery time that they want you to try to aim for, even the gallons per minute, whether it's a negligible amount or not, we're not gonna be able to meet it.
So is there a reason why we're completely disbanding like the other wells? When you put
So-
4 online?
So that's one of the things I wanted to point out in that memo. So one of the questions, question number 4, if you read through it, talks about well number 5 and the need to shut down wells 1 and 2 for well number 5. And that's not the city's intent. The city's intent is due to the age, the gradual decline in the productivity in those wells and the radium that they had in those wells is to try to, transfer over into the new well field, wells 4 and well 5. And then keep those as emergency backup. If we have well 3, 4, 5 gets put out of line, or if we have significantly high flows, those could be utilized for an emergency backup. Not taking it offline completely, but not having them on the day-to-day flow.
Not even like a low production.
Yeah. Pool was built in 59, so we're at 65 years now by the time. Well, water supply treatment gets up, it'll be about 70 years old, and I think. I don't know if you, Brian, if you recall, Kevin, you guys shocked wells 1 and 2 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
In 17, they did an acidizing when it was that time, was it 17? No, 16, 17 was well 3, so in 16, 1 and 2 were done and acidized, re-pipe, re-pump, new pumps and stuff. And at that time, they weren't sure how much more we were gonna be able to do with those. I mean, we can redo the downpipe, you can redo the pump, but whether we're gonna get any more capacity out of them is highly unlikely. Well, we cannot fix the casing. Once the casing fails, you're done because it's already small enough, we can't go any smaller. Or it'll be a huge waste of money to get what you're gonna get.
So. Last year, when we started this conversation. There was the discussion of well 5 and 6 way down the road. And I think what was the initial projection of this was, correct me if I'm wrong, was somewhere, I don't know why I have 8 million in my head. Is that about right initially, or?
I think the discussion was, we're working on well 4, we do the treatment.
Yeah.
And when we do the treatment, we'd also do well 5, so when everything comes online, well 4 and 5 would be available. Last month, there was concern about moving forward with well 5 at this point.
I don't remember ever talking about this whole program where we have well 4. But 1 and 2 are still involved. But over the last couple of meetings, now all of a sudden we have well 5 that comes in, and I have a phrase in my head, let's slow the roll, let's figure out. And then when I read through this, something in here says about, in order to get an SRF loan for well 5, 1 and 2 need to be shut down. But I don't remember anything being talked about where we're shutting down well 1 and 2.
That's not,
We
the
were-
city's intent. That's
we
what the
were-
DNR said.
That information just came to us in this,
Yeah.
with this a week ago.
But I read something in here to where the suggestion was, the city gave the suggestion of shutting down wells 1 and 2. And also, I don't know where the other part was about, that gives the benefit of an SRF loan. My point being is, first of all, we don't know the capacity of what 4 is gonna kick out.
Correct.
500 is, a lot of figures have gone into that. I'm not. Why, if we need, you guys are coming to us to say we need 5, Why wasn't that brought up at the start?
No, we're not including that in the same with well five. Well, five was in the discussion from the start. This hasn't been just added.
And 6 and others
Well,
from there.
6 is still out in the future. But the well field, we show up to 4 additional wells. So that could be wells 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah,
But we aren't gonna know exactly what we get until we drill well 4 and we drill the observation well on the other side of the field. And then we can know what type of drawdown we can get, and what
Sure.
type of production we can get.
yeah,
But well 5, when we did all this stuff a year ago in the original preliminary engineering report, well 5 has always been in that conversation. That's not something that's just been brought up from us.
So I guess my recollection is that you show like this is the field where all the wells will go. You know, that's what we're gonna be doing in the future, but as far as moving forward so quickly with all of them, I don't even recall originally that we were gonna put the wells over here, but not knowing that, well, when you put the wells in, now you've gotta have a treatment plant. But we don't even know what water quality will look like yet, but we have to have the treatment plant anyway. Kind of thing, so then that came on board, and then now we don't even have 4 in, we don't know what the water quality is, but we're pushing 5. So. I'm not saying we don't need it and that it isn't gonna be a need for it down the road. But I'm just saying that maybe we need to get 4 up, the treatment plant up. And see what's going on before we push all this.
Yeah, nothing's changing with any of that. We don't have to move forward with 5. This is the response from ISG on this memo is just basically saying the city does not want to shut down that wells within 2. They want to keep them as an emergency backup. If well 4 goes on, or well number 5 goes online. It's not saying we are gonna put well 5 in immediately, it's saying when we put well 5 in. The city wants to be able to utilize wells 1 and 2 as emergency backup instead of capping them and then completely shutting them down.
So what does it look like though for planning moving forward? That was my other thing is we were trying to detach 5 from all of these things, and I think you did some of that, but they did not. Their treatment plant and planning for 5 is all still combined, I think.
So it's in the preliminary engineering report, so then if in 2 years from down the road now, when we're in the middle of the design. And we find we're getting really high radium in one of those wells, and we have to shut it down, then it's in there, and we go ahead and move forward with 5.
So how
we'll
long,
Position ourselves so we can do 5, but we don't have to do 5.
so there was a limit on the permit.
I think in the PER, it's 3 years, so if we get the preliminary engineering report approved. We're 2 years down the road, we can go ahead and add, we don't have to we don't have to.
Cause that was the other concern I had is if we spend all the money to do all this now and it sits on a shelf. I thought it was only a year, so 3 years is better. But then you pull it off the shelf, then do we have to redesign and go through it all, and then do we have additional engineering
So-
costs at the time they pull it off the
Those are
shelf?
all different things. That's the preliminary engineering report. You're thinking of construction permits that go along with the design. In the next agenda item, we talked about the contract for the design. Which it's written in there, we hold off on the design on that. But the preliminary engineering report is done. It was done last October. This is just addressing the comments in that preliminary engineering report. So you're not spending any more money. This is just a memo addressing the preliminary engineering report that was submitted to the council last summer, fall. Approved by council, submitted to the DNR. Now they've gotten back with comments. They're timely, as you can tell, and this is a response to their comments. So we're not spending any more money on the preliminary engineering report because of well number 5.
I just didn't want it to get to a point where, okay, we do all this now. It's good for 3 years, and then what happens is in 3 years, we say, well, we gotta do this now because. We're gonna lose our permit if we don't, and then we're pushing it.
And that's not, again, it's not a permit, it's preliminary engineering report. And if we get out 4 or 5 years, you take this preliminary engineering report. And if it's just adding well number 5 and it's already in here, it's gonna be very minimal. Now, if you do a construction permit, you do the design, you submit a construction permit, and then you don't construct it within that time,
Then
that's a year. But
that's the
we're-
year, that's what I was
Based
thinking.
on the proposal on the agreement, which is the next agenda, we're not proposing to move forward with that. It's in the agreement, so. A year down the road, 18 months down the road, we're in the middle of the design of the treatment, and you come back and say, hey, we're gonna need well 5, let's include it. Council can say, go ahead and move forward, and it's in the agreement, we can do it. But that's separate from what we're talking now. This is basically just preliminary engineering report. And basically ISG's answers to the DNR's questions regarding the preliminary engineering. report.
And that's what the agreement is, the 1.9 million. That's the PER report. The flow chart.
Planning for all that's like 114.9 million.
No, for well
Oh,
5.
well, 5, I think is something like that.
1.9, that's for the building, the construction, the design and everything is what the.
I think that's the construction estimate. In the proposal on the next agenda item, I think we broke out ISG's fees were like 30,000 for the design, almost was 10,000 for the design. But the construction estimate in that memo. That's the construction cost estimates for.
15.3 or something.
Yeah. Well, number 5 is 1,320,000. Then there's contingencies on that, so 1.5 million ballpark.
So does council have any questions on the ISG memo? Emily, are you still with us?
Yeah, Lenny, it's Lenny instead of Emily, but yeah, I am on here if you have any additional questions, that you need answered.
Thank you. Council, any questions on the memo itself? Any other questions for Shane?
Do we have to have, well, sorry, Dane, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We have to have well 5. Is there some reasons why we need well 5 right now?
No,
That's
based on, so the chart that Ryan provided, showed you with the colors.
Yeah.
Kevin provided that a year ago. We're having these same discussions.
Yeah.
He provided that, so I mean, all that, this isn't new information. That shows that in 2028, about the time we'll be getting the treatment plant ready, we anticipate that well 5 will be needed. Now, based on, if well 4 pumps 600 gallons a minute, that may not be needed. If our growth isn't what we need, we get milder temperatures, we get drought, we get 95 degree average temperatures, we're probably gonna need more water. There's a lot that goes into it. If we have radium in wells 1 and 2, then we're definitely gonna need it. Wells 1 and 2 are gonna continually decline. In 5 years, what we're getting now, we're not gonna get out of them. But, so anticipated, we need them. That's what we want to plan for moving forward. That's why it's in the agreement. The agreement's written that we're not gonna do it until council says go ahead and do it. But it's in there, so if we need it, we don't have to go back and do it separately. It's positioned, we're ready to move forward. But from a planning standpoint, our recommendation is we plan for it and we're ready to move forward with the design and construction. If, everything that we're thinking happens or could happen, then we're ready to do it. Based on today's numbers, no, it's not needed. Well, number 4 is needed. Well, number 5, no. But we're also planning out 4 years. I mean, that's not gonna be online until about 2029 at this point, so. If we get closer, we'll have a little bit better idea, but probably by the early 2030s, 6, 7, 8, 9 years out, you're probably definitely gonna need well number 5.
So you're saying the only expense we're gonna have in addition to the treatment facility in well number 4 for well number 5 for the planning is like basically $40,000. That's it.
That's ISG's design fees for well number 5 and ours is 10,000. That's broken out in the fee summary and
then no other additional costs until we decide to move forward
No.
with well 5.
so if we get through the design, we put it out for bids and there's nothing that indicates, you want to move forward with well number 5, then you don't do it. But, for getting along in the design and, we're a few months out and you're like, yeah, Ryan comes in like, hey, we got major issues with well number 2. We're like, okay, let's do well number 5. We're set up, we can do that.
I look at it as well 1 and 2 are still producing. Can they go at any time? Yep. We don't know what 4 is gonna put out. It's still a projection. Best numbers are in there. So, and to your answer, Shane, do we have to have well 5 right now? No. So my thought then is we have so many other projects we can do ahead of this. that I don't, my personal, so you guys will know what my thoughts are here. It's not necessary at this time.
You talking about design or construction?
Construction, the design of 40,000, I'm okay with, I'm gonna go on record with that, the 40,000, so we have it stand there, and if. Four comes in less and one blows out, my words, you know,
So it sounds like we're moving on to item number 11 to discuss the engineering services agreement.
You have a question?
Couple of questions,
Okay.
just about the. What we call the charts. So in the current well flow, it says 273. Is there an improvement that happens between that and when the last chart there, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Now it's a minor difference, 273 to 325.
That was where it was at the time. So 350 was where it was when he did the chart, the current one. So what he did when he did that was 350 was the number for well 3, and everywhere else down the line was using that number for the same one to compare apples to apples across the board. Currently, it's at 273 is where it's been holding steady lately. That is due for rehab in the spring. And that might jump back up again with the new pump and stuff. I don't know. I'm assuming it will, because I'm sure the pump's fatigued. Well, 7 years old. Hopefully, we're gonna get, that's what happened last time, is we got a jump from a new pump, so.
So Brian, so I understand you said well number 3 is at 270?
273 right now, yeah. When we rehabbed it in 17, yeah, it's down quite a bit since it was rehabbed in 17, so.
Because if it doesn't jump to 325, then we're actually closer to needing 5.
Yeah, well, and the reason why we kind of it seemed like that everybody kind of forgot what we were talking about before, and it was not necessarily that, you know, we should have it, don't necessarily need it. But when something happens, we're at 11 months it took to get the PER reviewed and a comment back. When we actually need it, how long is it gonna take for us to go if we don't have it planned ahead of time? So engineering it, you don't have to engineer it twice. Once it's engineered once, all you gotta do is refer to the paperwork and move it on. So that's why we were kind of pushing to make sure that the engineering part of it gets done. Deciding yes or no on the well, that's just a gamble, and whether we need it or not, you know, if we don't need it, we can move on. If something tragic happens, we don't have a lot of water. Conservation. Shut down sprinklers, splash pad, whatever it takes to make sure everybody's got water to go to the bathroom and whatnot, but.
So so on the current, the current sitting at about 700.
Yep, that's something like that, yeah.
We were short by 60 over 70, so let's say 20% from the peak. What does that look like? So if the peak usage was 867, but we can only output about 700.
As long as you don't run a fair amount of the day at that rate, we're fine. The pumps just have to run longer to refurbish the tanks overnight, which is what we've been doing. When the tank, people are not using water, that's when we're trying to pump it so it fills it faster. So the pumps don't have to run as long to get the ground storage and the water tower back up. And we have enough for the day, and the cycle starts all over again every day.
So
Are these figured out a 12-hour production cycle?
yeah, I'll add to that a little bit. So these numbers based on what you're actually pumping, right, Brian, at this chart?
Yeah, those are, the column 3 is the actual numbers currently, the other number 2 was projected. Whenever Kevin made, in 2017, when we did the rehabs, that's where they were when they started. And then after that, it's projected guesses depending on what we may or may not end up having, guessing.
But these are figured on 12-hour production cycles?
So, yeah, basically like in, the memo, the preliminary engineering report, all those numbers are based on 20-hour a day pumping, which is not ideal. Because that means you're pumping all but 4 hours a day, so that's hard on your pumping, it's hard on your system, burns them out quicker.
So is this?
It also drains the aquifer, you don't have time for the aquifer to fill back up, so you shoot for 12 hours a day. And if you if we're not producing at that peak day, we have the storage tanks that help supply that. And we can draw that down that aquifer, we can pump 24 hours, absolutely needed. You can't do that day after day. You draw down your aquifer, it can't keep up. And like I said, it's also hard on your system, we're gonna burn it out memory, so. So there's different things that obviously play into that, but, these numbers are based off 20 hours a day. Ideally, you want to design your system to operate at 12 hours a day. Your pumps, everything's gonna last longer, your aquifer is gonna be freshly filled back up.
But if necessary in the summer, we can pump more than 12 hours a day, up to
Oh,
20.
Yeah, well, we,
If necessary, which will get us up above the 860s.
when we hit 900 and some thousand, it was 4 hours. So they ran for almost a whole day to do that, but.
Yeah, this is all in that.
Yeah, just that for a week. You're gonna be running dry, your aquifer's not gonna keep.
So what I consensus wise, what I'm hearing is that we're okay spending the $40,000 to get the plans drawn up, but that we don't actually need to worry about construction at this point. I think until we actually get 4 up and running online, how do we know what we're gonna need with 5? If we do, if it goes well, we might not right away. If it goes really badly, then do we look at, are we even in the right location to be drilling 5? Do you know what I mean? I just think there's a lot of unknowns until we get to that point.
I
to
think-
move forward.
And Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of of the opinion, I might be the contrarian here, that we should plan for construction of 5. And there's several reasons for that. Number one, construction costs continue to go up drastically. I remember when we first started putting this treatment facility, 4 and 5 on our CIPs, and the cost since then is, I mean, I can't tell you how many times it's gone up percentage wise, but it's significant. I mean, when we finally came down on the number for the treatment plan, 4 and 5, I know a few people, including myself, were, had a little shell shock on what the price tag was. So the first one's construction costs, it's gonna go up period, so we have to decide when we're gonna build. Number two, what I was gonna say, Cindy, correct me, if we're wrong, just because we bond to construct well number 5, like all bonds, does not force us to do it, it just means that that bond is what that specific use is for. We don't have to build it right away if we find out that well 4 is bad or doesn't produce at the volume we're expecting. I think another thing to consider is the longevity of well 1 and 2. Now, I know the rates change and there's variances and we're going on averages, but if you look when we asked guys in 2017, that was 7 years ago, well 2 and 3 are already down 33% of what they produced then %. If you look at column 2 and 3. Number, well 1 isn't as bad, but you're already in a third of what we had in 7 years. And we're talking about wells that aren't gonna get up for 4 to 7 years. And lastly, and I don't know the answer to this, but I don't know if there's any cost savings in doing, from a construction point of view, doing the treatment plant and 4 and 5. I don't know if there is or not, probably not, but
I just think, I don't know if we can afford all that.
I'm not saying, no, it's not
Because
cheap.
we've got the bridge and all of that construction out here yet to pay for. And now we've got expenses over here and none of that's cheap. So I'm not saying not do the construction at all. I'm saying, let's wait till 4 gets up. So at least we've just moved it down a year or 2 till we can get some of this other stuff. It's more a question of we're gonna have other expenses that we need to handle at the same time.
Yeah, in the time with well 4, that'll be drilled in the spring and the observational, so we'll have numbers before we have to move forward with design on well 5.
To me, it just like doesn't, we just need.
My biggest concern is how well 1 and 2. How much longer they have, how many legs they have left, because it's 59, 79, and 99, well, 1, 2, and 3. We're already 5 years behind that well 4, and now we're gonna be pushing back. Now, I know I jumped way ahead by getting 5 and 2, but at the same time. It's
Well,
also
it's-
significant.
If 6 is a wonder well, then, then we might not need to even spend that money for a little bit.
Well, and there's so many decisions to be made in between, just getting it started, get the design in place so that you're ready to make those decisions, but you're gonna have so many more. Even if you decide to go with construction and you put it out for bids and don't like the bids, you can still halt it then, there's You'll have so many more decision phases that you don't have to decide all of them now. But to Mike's point, you're eventually gonna need 5. So it's, you're just kind of saying, are we gonna push it out, another 3 or 4 years? But design it now so you're ready if a crisis happens. But know that you're not taking it off your
No,
I know
plans.
These columns.
I'm
are-
just saying that money wise, we probably just need to be a little more pragmatic. And maybe just push it out, because it's not like we have to have it,
Right.
or we're gonna have to have the other items right away. We can't push those.
And emphasize what you said earlier about the other projects we have. We have the bridge, we have the reconstruction of the intersection, we have the industrial, we have the street. Heading east to Google and,
But
those.
realize those are completely different money pockets.
Yeah, all of the wells are revenue debt.
Yeah.
Whereas the construction.
The industrial's gonna be
That's
TIF.
GO and TIF.
So, yes, it's a lot to consider and juggle, but it's not all coming out of the same pocket.
And that's why we have Maggie Berger as our financial advisor to help us figure this out, right? So good discussion with council. Any other observations before we move on and talk about the engineering services agreement? All right, sounds like you're ready to move on to number 11. At your last meeting, you asked Shane to come back with some revisions to the agreement he presented last month. That's in your packet. Shane, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so. We had presented the engineering services agreement last month. There was concern about well number 5. So you asked us to pull out the design for well number 5, and so broke it out. The design fees for wells number 5, it was 10,000 for all, and 30,000 for ISG for total 40,000. First page, added a paragraph that basically says, we won't go forward with the design of that until the council gives us direction to do that. So if we can move forward with the design of the treatment facility and hold off to develop until we get more information, wait till we get the well bore in the ground in the observation well, we know what kind of productivity we're gonna get. If we can wait till that point, or you want to do it, but so this is, based on your request last month, we broke that out. Fees and with how we move forward with doing the design for them.
Any questions for Shane? Hearing none. You ready for a motion?
Motion. Second.
Roll call, please. Marianne? Did you find it?
Aye.
Aye.
Last question. So this agreement includes construction engineering services? Right?
Right.
The agreement that we're approving includes the construction engineering services.
Yes,
We just won't be charged for those unless we move forward with those items.
yeah, the construction engineering services are cost plus for SG's, it's an estimate. So, yeah, obviously, if we're not doing well 5,
Okay,
there's no fee for it, it's not a fixed fee, it's based on, our time doing construction, observation, construction, admin, testing, so on and so. So obviously, well 5 is constructed, we're not out there.
Thank you. We're on to item number 12, resolution setting the date for a public hearing on designation expanded urban renewal area. The public hearing date would be October 8th. We're just setting the date tonight.
Sorry.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 13, review and possible motion concerning a new liquor license at Chilongo's Mexican Restaurant. That's in your packet. Any questions?
I just want to point out that they are not including the patio, so they will not be able to serve liquor out there unless they amend their permit and grant insurance.
No questions, entertain a motion,
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Number 14 is a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 25 budget amendment. Number 1, I'm going to open the public hearing. Cynthia, did we receive any comments?
I did not.
Don't have any discussion. Cynthia, why don't you talk about what you did here?
Please, let me open them. So anytime I do a budget amendment, I try to look at revenues and expenses and not just do the expenses which are required. So you can see that I've adjusted based on our best estimate, the collection fees, and then transfers, we needed some additions to that. Those are the revenues. And then I had a question about the Heartland Heights Culvert project. We could pay for it out of Lost. Currently, we have the Lynn County culvert coming out of Lost. We could pay for the Heartland Heights culvert out of bond money in general, but it's in Heartland Heights, so that means LMI is kicked in if we are paying that bond back with TIF. Or we could use that money and not pay it back with TIF. Although that money is in a bond that's currently being paid by TIF. Or we could use unassigned lost money to pay for the Heartland Heights culvert, like we're doing the Lynn County culvert. It doesn't affect where it goes on the budget amendment, it's still in public works, but I just want direction from you, which of the money that you would want to use.
Never spend money that kicks in LMI.
I would suggest the loss would be my recommendation. You remember you had about, in still keeping the 100,000 balance, you had about 80,000 unassigned. I would suggest that you use lost for this Heartland Heights culvert participation. Is everyone all right with that? We could go on then, if you have any questions about the figures on here, the park signage, that was just a carryover from last fiscal year, didn't get paid. The CDL training that you approved is in there. The audit, because we've got an extra year payment that's gonna be, hopefully they'll get us billed next spring. Planning for the industrial area, the annexation agreement, raise those expenses. Debt service, the new GEO bond payments, of course, we didn't know what those were when we did the budget, so those weren't in there. I got information from Holland Hall about project total, and so some of the project, like the water tower, we expected it to be either completely paid off or just very little left at by the end of June. Well, we all know how slow that project and trouble that ran into, so they gave me their feedback on what the current fiscal year numbers should be for the projects, and so I tried to match their recommendations. And then again, transfers out. I mean, it seems like lots of lines, but it's pretty straightforward as far as a first of the fiscal year budget amendment. Most of it is just what didn't get received or didn't get spent last fiscal year, and then new projects that we didn't know about.
Helpful, have any questions for Cynthia? No, I'm good with lots of funds.
For that culvert.
Do any audience members have any questions or comments? Anyone on the phone have any questions or comments during the public hearing? Council, any questions before I close the public hearing? Public hearing is closed. Now consider a resolution to adopt budget amendment number 1.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have another public hearing, item number 16, regarding a change in zoning code. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Did we receive any comments? Cynthia?
I did not. Chris, did you get it?
Chris, can you give us just a real brief?
I brought this to the P and Z intentionally, and someone talking about how the house. They didn't know exactly what to do with it at the time, if the permit would have came through, we would have had to write it. Took this to P and Z, they kicked it around for months, several months, this is what came out of it. They looking at adding it to the 44 RS, which is a lot of over 1 acre. Setbacks are a little more on the 44 RS. And then they want to add it to the ag district. Would be allowed in the ag. Within 44 RS.
Basically only acre larger properties and agricultural zones.
Yes, and barn dominiums was quickly discussed and thrown out because we don't allow anything but ducks and chickens. So that's kind of what P and Z came up with on it. Full recommendation.
Do you know off the top of your head how many properties are an acre or larger within city limits?
I don't-
Obviously,
there's quite a
the
few.
cemetery, has quite a
Longview's
few.
got, most of Longview is, and West Cemetery going up there. There's probably some over on Southview. Yeah,
Are there any empty acre lots that, right now, because I mean, I'm visualizing this in my head,
probably on Southview there is, for sure.
because I don't know who wants a house put up in existing acre properties.
Yeah, I think Longview, Southview. Southview. Most of the old part of town is not gonna cut it. Any of the new developments are smaller than that, bulldozing tomorrow.
What's that?
Bulldozing tomorrow.
But you said no one's asked. for
We
this.
did have someone inquiring about it, they didn't follow through, and put in the permit, that was generated by interest in it, taking it to P and Z, because I didn't want to write a permit that eventually people would do that. Better to have it up front than.
What do we think about lot sizes or restrict, I mean, I'm sorry to jump in on this late, but. Do we want houses and on acreage properties for residential, or do we want to restrict them to agriculture? You have a strong opinion one way or the other. Because I mean, those things are go down Beverly, it's like that big old red parking. I know it's all taste, it's all personal opinion, but I don't know how much I want.
There's one right up here on, Beverly.
Yeah,
Right. There's like three.
that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So theoretically, Heartland Heights as it develops over. Could someone build? Buy. 3 30-acre properties, to make an acre in for a house?
No, because
It's gotta be 44.
yeah, those are, no, now, I will tell you, shouts are getting pretty popular, especially in the western part of the country. There are developments for shouts, even in southern Iowa there are. So if the market dictated it, Shane Bruce could start offering 44
Shouts.
lots. And yeah, I mean, it could happen.
Yeah, I know it's powerful, out,
Some of them.
north of Palo, there's a friend of mine developed a property, that's all it is shouts. It's
Yeah.
It's so. Bananas.
It'll come sooner than later, some of them are fall.
So that, back to that question, do we want to restrict it further to only agriculture or include 44s?
My thought is agriculture. It's not limited.
Pretty big.
I'm sorry, who's that me?
No, I was asking council if they wanted to restrict it further just to agricultural or agriculture in 44. I don't know, like he said, maybe if someone came to us and said, hey, I'm gonna put on the, what would that be, west side of Lefty, or nothing but houses.
Do
Then
you feel like an
maybe,
acre's not
then
big enough?
maybe, but if someone's developing a acre properties, like let's say along West Cemetery, I know there's some out, but theoretically, they're developing more out there. And they're acre and a half properties, I don't know if I want, if I as a resident that was living there, would get house, giant ass thing, house, I don't know. How much,
You know, you could control it with zoning, you just make those non-RS then, instead of 44 RS.
Anyone from the audience have comments? We
Yeah.
pretty much lost our audience. Anyone on the phone have comments?
I don't know, do we want to start with agriculture? I mean, again, ordinances are forever in perpetuity until we decide to change our minds, so.
I think that protects it more, keeping it just agriculture for now, you know, was,
Till someone comes and then we can address it if it ever comes up.
yeah.
It might wanna.
Is that a motion? Do I hear a
Yeah,
motion?
that's a motion to allow houses on.
We're still in the hearing, aren't we?
We're still in the public hearing.
Okay, all right.
Or if you're done discussing, then we'll close the public hearing and move on to item number 17. Where we're introducing an ordinance, which it sounds like you want to amend.
A motion to amend the ordinance as follows, allowing houses only on agricultural properties, not on free forest at this time.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
So that was the first reading.
We want to allow a month in case all the chouse lovers come up. Pitchforks in hand next month, say,
Yeah, we
you're a
don't
bunch
have-
of conspiracy theorists,
We
you're.
don't have anyone asking,
I-
for one, so yeah, we got all time.
I don't want the tinfoil hat people to think we're hiding stuff from the city or the people again.
I'll consider a motion to suspend the rules for passing it to council.
So
Do you want to do,
you're
want to do
making
two?
a motion, you're not considering the motion.
Yeah, I'm considering a motion.
You're making it.
It's a big motion.
You want to do it two tonight, save for next month for final passage?
I was just gonna say, if nobody's asking for one, let's just get it done. Why push it down the road if? we
Why are you
don't
trying to
need
do so fast, Marianne? Are you hiding? What the? I'm hiding.
Everything. Just saying, we'll have enough on our agenda
So, is
about
there a
pushing this
motion?
down the road if we don't need to.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules requiring that it be voted on in two councils?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we can consider the motion for the final passage and adoption.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Number 18. Ordinance 92, rental housing. At the last meeting, you directed Chris to come back and start over again, right, Chris?
Well, it changed to a 5-year end.
Right, so we're starting over with the first reading
Yes,
again.
we couldn't hold on to our first reading, so it's back to first reading. Also, council had asked, how many units were out there, so I worked with, Stacy, Billy's clerk, the apartment units. We're not sure yet on the chocolate factory. Does anybody know how many units are up out there?
It's that 3 or 4.
3 or 4. 3, is it 3 up above? I was thinking 3.
Unless they change something, but it used to be very.
So we should have 61 apartment units, then we have 34 single family houses and 36 condo units. That are rentals. Which is 131, I believe. Well,
31 single family rentals.
34 single family, 36 condos.
36, not a 61.
So knowing that. My plan is to tackle apartments first, condos second, single families last.
Bless your heart.
It's a lot more than I ever expected. I thought there was maybe 50.
With this being on the agenda the last few months, have you heard any feedback?
No, I haven't heard boo from anybody on it.
I did have one question from a resident wondering if this applied to short-term rental properties,
What does that mean?
What's
Like
it?
an
We
Airbnb.
define a short-term rental.
Airbnb.
No,
So that's the only question I got, but. And I
No.
deferred it to Chris.
Do we have a lot of Airbnbs?
We have one that I know of. I don't know if the new owners are using it as an Airbnb, are they? Oh, McKeever's. are.
McKeever's is
Yeah,
active,
that's
yes.
that one. The other one I don't think is used as an Airbnb.
No, I think just a residence one, yeah.
But that's not a rental, is it?
It's not a landlord rental unit, is it?
It's a short-term rental, so.
The owner doesn't know they're renting it? I mean, the landlord's the one setting it up as a Airbnb.
Council, would you like the Airbnb? It doesn't matter to me. I didn't count that one. It's not a separate utility account as what we were using to find the rentals.
You know, how do you know that it's something other than looking on, how do you know that it's a property that's Airbnb, Verbo or whatever?
Yeah, that one's gonna be tough to find, because like I said, we use the utility accounts to find what the rentals.
I don't know if you can.
I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't see.
I don't think that's what the intent of the ordinance was for Airbnbs, it's for the.
I think this is more for long-term property rentals. Would be the short answer to that.
So, do we have a motion to introduce and approve the first reading of this rental property ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Would you like to introduce a motion to suspend the rules requiring it be voted on for 2 council meetings?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please. Aye.
Aye.
Therefore, we can move on to final passage and adoption with your motion.
I'll move it since really it's been on our agenda for a while, and no comments.
Second.
Roll call, please. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 19. A resolution to approve the rental inspection fees, which are in your packet.
So we did some
Chris?
clarifying on that inspection fees, if you recall, from the last meeting. The re-inspection will be after, I can't read it from here, but first and second inspections. Yeah. There's no fee for it, it's when you hit that third inspection, when they're not making the corrections, but still setting up the inspection, that's when they'll be charged. Complaint investigation, only if the complaint is found to be valid. Will there be that fee kick in?
It's your annual registration, you gotta pay that every year.
The annual is annual,
Yes.
but the inspection.
Inspections are required.
Yeah, it's an annual registration fee, not inspection fee.
Right.
I have one question, and maybe I'm just going a little too deep into the weeds here. We have obviously inspection fees and complaint investigation fees that are valid. I know we're doing this to protect the renter from the rentee. Is there any consideration we want to do? And maybe I'm thinking too much into this. For people that are habitual whiners, that there's nothing wrong. So like, and I know that just means they probably stopped rental agreement, but I'm referring more to the person who every little thing that is not legit, that they're complaining, and then utilizing city time on something that's not a valid complaint. I don't want to discourage people from complaining about something, but at the same time, if, you know,
Here's mad at the landlord.
this person's mad at their landlord and every week it's something.
So they're using
new
us
and
as a tool to
ridiculous
not
and
pay
it's
their
not
rent.
Valid, and yeah,
I'd say we probably should cross that bridge if we get to it. See how it goes for a year or two and maybe come back to that if we see that issue.
if there's habitual
Yeah.
use of it.
I know about the habitual complainers. But yeah, I think maybe give it a year or two.
Yeah, just to see how, I get, yeah, that's fine, I'm trying to think of it from both sides. If I was renting the property in some ways. Oh, my AC's too loud, you know, just something
It's that
simple.
involved within our criteria.
This kicks off first of the year, right?
First of the year, yeah, let's plan to get this thing up and going.
So consider a motion to approve the rental inspection fees. So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 20. Sign regulations, person stuff.
Yes, council instructed me to make some, corrections or clarifications within those flag. Flag, what we call
Feather flags?
it? Yeah, feather flag, there you go.
Other banners.
So. There's a chart down below, Cynthia, a little further. There you go. Keep going, maybe. Yep, there it is in red. There's the changes we added to the chart. Feather flags, no more than 2 per parcel. And then wind driven or mechanical, 1 per parcel. There's a few districts they're not allowed in. I believe that's what council wanted to see after the last meeting.
I commented to Chris that I was recently in a neighborhood on the day of the Iowa State game. And every house along the street had a feather flag showing their preference for who's gonna win the game.
Did we find the Hawkeye flags?
Did you find them?
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Well, and this is showing they're not allowed in residential, right?
And this was in a different
Yeah,
community.
we were doing this for business, not for.
Yeah, I think, yeah, where it's just like no parking on,
Garage sale days.
garage sale days, thank you. We're not out here to be Nazis, we understand like, you know, so side on board, it's more commercial stuff. You wouldn't want game metal. Oh my gosh, are you a Cub fan too? No, Hang that. It's just 2 out of last 3, that's fine. And then your 2 chicken playing 2020 because, you know, come flu, but that's beside the point. Anyway, back to flags.
So any more questions for Chris? Are you happy with what he's amended here?
I'm very happy, so I'll move this.
You're making the motion, okay? First reading,
Second.
roll call please.
Aye.
Aye.
Would you like to consider a motion to suspend the rules requiring 2?
Yes.
Motion. Second.
Roll call please.
Aye.
Aye.
And then we can consider final passage and adoption with your motion.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 21. This is yours too.
No,
Negative.
this is just adding, the, for a city event, the license exception.
Okay.
City events.
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call please.
Aye.
Aye.
Do we have a motion to consider suspending the rules requiring that it be voted on for 2 more council meetings?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We can now motion for final passage and adoption, please.
Motion.
Ooh,
Second.
Oh.
Roll call.
Aye.
Cynthia can sort that out.
Aye.
Thank you. We've already taken care of items number 22 and 23. We'll move on to item number 24. We have a new planning and zoning commission member. If you choose to appoint, was that who was here earlier, Chris? Do you know
No, I've never met him. You got it in this room?
that they there was a couple here
Could have been.
earlier, but
I've never
okay.
met this person, so.
Okay. Chris included their email, correct? Okay. So. Is there a motion to appoint Sean Whitcomb to the Planning and Zoning Commission, please?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, item number 25, that's a resolution to approve the agreement with OPM. The library board approved this at their meeting last evening, so we just need the council to second.
And if you remember, you have 25,000 in the lost budget for this project. We discussed it at budget time.
So,
Roll call, please.
I,
I,
Thank you. Number 26. A resolution to approve the transfer. Cynthia, please.
So this is a little different one. I mean, I still giving you lots of details, but what I did a detailed multi-day review through our bond funds, you know, we allocate a certain amount and then the project comes in under or over budget and we've got it setting in for one, in a certain fund for one project, but then that project's done and there's some more money to move around, so. This is, moving some money that I'll just kind of quickly go through them. If you have any more detailed questions, feel free to shout out, but. The first one is just taking some money that had been left in the debt service fund to cover any possible fees, and we still had this much left over from the 2023 GO bond, so going to the bridge capital improvement project that bond was for. Heartland Height Bridge participation, the 360 that's in our budget. It's just moving it from the general where that 2022 GO bond money has been sitting into the capital improvements fund where we're going to spend it out of. Again, 135,000, it was from the 2020 B to go towards the bridge project, the right-of-way acquisition types of possible expenses. So again, it's moving it from the general to the bridge capital improvements. Again, 235 from the 2020 B general fund to the intersection capital improvement. The sewer fund, so this had in the 2020 A, there was, I think, 166,600 that was earmarked for sewer participation in Heartland Heights. Well, plans changed of where the sewer line would be laid, and Shane can give you more details than I, but the project has never happened and we don't know when it's gonna happen. And if and when it happens, it's gonna cost a lot more than we thought. And so there was a little bit from 2020 B left over from another sewer project that we had put in there, and then it has gained some interest. So I'm just suggesting that we take this all out of the sewer fund, and we do have it tracked in a separate sewer tracking account on your cash report. From there to the general checking account. And then based on the bond purposes, that can go towards eventually, hopefully, the Vanderbilt Street project. Again, here's some 2020 GO bond from the debt service again, into the general checking again to go towards a street improvement if it happens. We had some little bit of money left over in for the water study, and the well rehab. Or to the well rehab, the current one. And this was 17 GO bonds. The water fund has kind of, water study has kind of taken several years to complete. And so that's just less than 1,000 that we're moving to the well rehab. 2022 GO bonds, the water main extension project is complete. And so this is just taking the remaining balance that we've had in for a previous total estimate back to the general to be available. And so this is just a summary. And anybody have questions?
Motion to approve transfers. Second.
Roll call, please.
I,
Aye.
Thank you. Number 27, resolution to approve accounts payable policy.
This is me again. So this is really just getting on paper what we do now. I'll just quickly run through. In your payroll resolution, it says all payroll expenses can be paid. We've always had that in that, but I just brought that in since we were doing all these other ones. The payroll benefit or deduction insurance coverages, like if an employee is contributing for their family coverage, or like employees pay all of their Aflac or Colonial Life or Globe Life, we make those deductions each payroll, and then we pay them when they're due before council. Fairfax, utilities, some of our Alliant accounts, the South Slope, the US Cellular, Mid-American all come out ACH a certain time of the month. Sometimes it's after the council, sometimes it's before. That's to avoid any late fees, and any utilities. The state of Iowa required to remit sales tax and wet tax on a monthly basis, and so just those come out easy. I pay them online. They come out ACH also. All debt payments come out and always have, and debt fees come out ACH. And again, it's just they come out like December 1 and June 1, or a couple of business days before. The debt fees come out now just once a year for each debt issue on the anniversary date of the debt issue. So again, many times they hit in between council meetings. I try to get them on your claims sheet the meeting before, but if we'd ever miss some fees, it's okay for them to come out. And then, of course, postage costs, we have to pay those when we do the mailings, and we always have. So again, all of this is already happening. I just thought, me thinking about retiring and getting a city administrator, it should be in black and white. And we've never been written up that we were doing anything wrong with an audit for doing these. Just making it official.
I need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 28. You have the list of bills in your packets. Were there any questions? If not, consider a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm still thinking.
He said.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Tom. Okay. Item number 29, opportunity for citizens not on the agenda. I think they've all.
I got one question.
Okay,
Cynthia mentioned the Lynn County Culvert project. Did they move forward to that, do you know?
They're supposed to be starting, I think, tomorrow.
they've already bid.
They agreed to it? Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I think they located and all that request, and I think their location, they was supposed to be tomorrow.
Good news.
And the bid came in a little over 100,000, and the city was 50% up to 50,000.
Any other questions? Anybody online have any questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on to item number 30. I just have a couple of quick invitations under mayor's comments. Alliant Energy always hosts annually a roundtable discussion, as I understand it. Cynthia's attended in the past, maybe Marianne. That's coming up Monday, September 30th at 10:30. If any of the council are interested in attending, please let me know within the next couple of days so that I can let them know who will be attending. It's scheduled just to go to noon, I think, 10:30 to noon approximately. It did not indicate that they're providing lunch, but that seemed to be the time frame.
Yeah, not in the budget,
Pardon me?
not in the budget.
Not in the budget. And then I just heard this on the radio. They also do this annually, the Solid Waste Agency. Their annual customer appreciation day is this Friday. You want to drive out there between 11 and 1 on Friday, you'll get a free lunch as a customer of the Solid Waste Agency.
Made some sandwiches they found in the garden.
Reuse.
Yeah, repurpose.
That's all I got. Cynthia?
I just heard, it kind of got a question today. Is there a library board special meeting that we should let everybody know?
Ask Kathy.
Oh, yes. Monday, 16th at 6 o'clock, we'll be up here for the showing the what OPN has designed of the library.
Anything else, Cynthia?
Just a reminder, I will next week be leaving about noon or 1 o'clock to go to, Sioux City for the annual league conference, and I'll be there. I won't be back till Monday morning.
Cynthia's on her own on this one. I'm not able to attend this year. Next year will be in Des Moines. So hopefully we'll have full participation.
Do you know, Kathy, if they gave any consideration to putting a basement on the addition area? For like storage or, turning up that kind of thing?
Yeah. No, they're not planning on that. But I haven't seen it. I don't know what, I don't know what.
Just trying to look for more storage area for you.
Anything else, Cynthia?
No, no.
If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
No. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, council.
Do not say it is so, under 2 hours. Awesome, awesome.
Joe laughed at me at the staff meeting before that when I really thought we could get that done. Should have been funny.
Well, I told Cindy today, I was expecting over on 3 hours.
I was on the move, I was on the